I am with Kiwi author who you might know from her thousands of followers online, but she is also now a debut author of the very amazing and insane novel Malachite. I am with Ashley Anderson.
Hi.
First off, if someone watching this hasn't heard of Malachite yet, explain it to me in one sentence.
I would say a fast-paced, easy to binge romantasy with enemies to lovers, a strong found family, and a slow burn.
Hell yeah, all of the things that we
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
For Malachite, it is your first novel. Where did you draw that inspiration from?
I'm actually just trying to remember like the very first moment that I thought of it. And it was I had a crystal in a PR box that was sent to me. And for some reason that sparked this idea of imagine if there was an academy where crystals gave people power. And then I started researching into all these crystals and what kind of where I could take those meanings and bring them into powers and an academy and like the units and everything like that.
Yeah, I was wondering why those three crystals. Obviously, we have malachite, agate, and opal. What was
Yeah.
it, those three that drew to you?
I think when I first started playing this, I there was five of them to start with.
Really?
Yes. And that was when I first started planning this. And in my head, I was like, I need to build a world where it functions. So what does this need? And I was like, well, they need protectors, they need warriors, and then they need scholars. They need people who are going to teach these other people who are going to go into libraries, be professors. They need those kinds of people. And then there's also healers. And that I had narrowed it down to those three because then there were others. And I just started looking for stones that had protective abilities, healing properties, stones that enhance like cognitive things.
Your brain was like,
So
you
I'm
don't actually know
tasteful.
these things. Don't worry.
You don't know what you're talking about. No.
I was actually really intrigued that the healers had they were their own crystal out of the three because often I think that they're very important in a romantasy, but they're kind of not seen as important as like the warriors or those kind of people. So it was cool
Yeah.
that they were actually one of the three that you went for.
Yeah, I definitely wanted them to have a really significant meaning because, like you said, a lot of them are just like that type are not given a certain kind of power in romantic books. Everyone's like the really strong, badass characters, which I love, but I also want to enhance the importance of the people in the background, the people who are doing the healing, and give them a really specific reason to be there.
Yeah, and because obviously when people are reading the book, they will see the healers are really important, as they always are, but like very much specifically in this book,
Yeah.
really important. I
I
don't,
was going to say something, but I'm not going to say something. But yes, they are very important.
and so obviously you are a big romantasy reader, a big fantasy reader, because this is where you've ended up. Would you say there are any series that have kind of inspired this Malachite?
I think when I first started planning this, I hadn't read any romantic books where they used crystals for power.
Mm,
And I think that was a big incentive for me to write that. But then, there are obviously books in academies. I remember when I first started planning this, I was reading Zodiac Academy at the time, and I was loving that setting. And so I think that's probably one of the series that I was like, oh, this sounds so much fun. I want to tap into this kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I didn't like school. I wouldn't go back to school, but for some reason, academies are very fun to read about.
I'm like, that sucked. But this way, there's magical powers and like hot, broody men. Yes.
My life might be on the line, but like it's
Yeah,
chill because there's hotties.
literally. I could probably die tomorrow, but worth it.
Oh yeah, I love reading these books, but there's no way that I would genuinely survive in one of these worlds. Like I'm gonna be
Oh,
in the corner. I'm not actually no, I'm not even signing up.
have fun with that. I'm gonna go sit in my cottage and just watch all of this happen. I'm like, I have to use my glasses just for this meeting. I can't fight in a battle. Someone takes my glasses off and I'm like, what's going on? I'd have to have like an enemy like this close to me to be like, are you the bad guy or are you on my side? Like, I can't see you.
You're like, can we all wear bibs and like
Yeah,
identify by a specific color?
yeah. White shirts on the side of the battle.
Skins on the other.
Yeah, actually.
And obviously, I mentioned you've got a massive following online. What was it like going from being a creator, reading so many books, and then deciding I'm going to write my own?
It's very interesting going from that side and reviewing all the books to being on the other side and knowing people are going to read my book. And I think because I've always wanted to do this, ever since I was really young, I knew one day I want to write a book. And so from the very first time I started this TikTok and Instagram reviewing page, I knew I wouldn't do negative reviews of authors. I was like, no, one day I hope to be in this space. And yeah, I was like, I'm not going to share that. I don't think that's what my space was for. And so I think I'm glad I chose to do that because I'm like, well, it actually happened. And I see a lot of discourse around that one day these people will be your peers, so show respect, be kind. And that's all I ever wanted to do was show lots of support for authors, be kind, create a positive area for people to come to. And then this just happened to happen as well. And so I was like, I don't know. It's a very interesting feeling. And then I don't know how thick my skin is yet. So I'm very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, Tierney Page from Australia said a similar thing where she was like, all of a sudden, I was reading books in a different light. She was finding that even if she didn't like a book, she could find things that she did like in it because she
Yeah.
knew the time that it takes to write a book, put it all together. She knew the other side, so she felt like she couldn't find bad things about books.
Yeah, I definitely, that's a really good way to put it. Because you find just, yeah, the hard work that goes into everything. And I think going through this process, I've learned so many things that I never knew about the publishing industry. I was like, oh, you just write a book and get it edited and slap it out there. No, no.
And so, how did that come about? You had this idea, you wrote this book. I hear that maybe you were just thinking of indie publishing this first.
Yeah, I definitely was going to indie publish and I didn't like have a specific time frame. I just knew eventually I wanted to do this. And then I was reached out to, and then we had that meeting, and lost it. I was freaking out. I was like, "What is happening?" And then it all happened, and it happened really quickly. I feel like, and even now, I'm still like, "Is this happening? I have imposter syndrome. This is not real."
You have physical copies behind you, but you're still not sure.
I know. I got them the other day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was so excited. Started crying.
Yeah, of course. Anyone would. Getting into Malachite, what is your favorite scene and which scene are you most excited for readers to experience?
I feel like there's so many scenes that I really loved. There were definitely scenes that I knew were going to happen from the very first planning. Like there was a good handful that I was like, I know this is going to happen. And I am the type of person I have to write in order. I cannot write that scene and then put it in. I'm like, no, I need to work for this scene myself. I want my characters to work for this scene and I need to work for this scene. So the bathtub scene was extremely fun. I was
Hmm.
having so much joy writing that. I was like, I have been waiting for this moment. That was loads of fun. And then like one specific line about the best friend, I was like, what did I just put in there? I
Have I
was like,
put something addictive in my own book?
Ashley, what are you doing?
You walk out to your partner and you go, I kind of just killed that actually.
I think I just remember writing it and being like, I remember I went and told him. I don't think he's actually read it, but I said, I don't think you should read this book. I was like, I'm shy.
Really? Oh
Because
my gosh.
I don't want any of my family to read that one specific line because they're gonna be like, oh, well. They're like, oh, I see what you do, what
Yeah.
you read. So I think that scene was really fun. The ending was something that I was so looking forward to.
We like I'm not going to give anything away, but I I spammed you with messages once I finished this book. Like it was the best way to finish a book. There's a cliffhanger, totally. Like I need the book desperately. I need book two desperately, but I'm not like, "Oh my God, how dare you?"
Yeah. I had that, there's like last few words. I was like, don't say anything. But I like remember typing that out a few different ways. And then I just put, and then obviously it came out how it came out. But I was like, that was so satisfying to write because that is something that I had planned from the very first beginning. I remember writing it down in my notes before I'd even written a single word on my laptop.
Wow.
And like I said, I write in order. So getting to finally write that down, I was like, like I was so excited.
I think that that's actually something that quite a few authors have said to me, like Lucy Score and Kelly Hart have said, they do have, like you, have those scenes in mind, but they have to work for it and they
Yeah,
have to be like, I've got to tick off, I've got to pay the bills and tick off some things, do some admin before I can actually get to the good stuff and treat myself.
yeah. Yeah, literally. It's like a little treat. And I'm like, yay, that was so fun. Like, ow.
One question I did also want to talk to you about is often romanticies have some spice, but they often don't get into it until book two. There is a little bit of spice in this one. What
Yeah.
made you decide to actually not hold off and pop that in there in the first book?
Originally, there was not going to be spice. So in the first draft, they didn't, it, it kind of ended at the bathtub scene. That was the most, you know?
Yeah.
So we didn't do the others. And it was kind of a moment where I was like, there are things that I need to happen in book two that I feel like this is laying the groundwork for.
Okay.
And so I was
Okay.
like, it's definitely, I want it to be a build up. So take with that, do with that what you will with for book two.
I mean, speaking of book two, d do we have any hints? Do we have any little teasers you can give us?
I'm trying to think. I'm like, what can I share? Because I don't know. um, all I'm gonna say is that I'm very excited for you guys to meet some new characters, and I'm having a lot of fun writing it.
Oh, okay. So you're writing it at the moment.
And I'm having the best time.
I mean, if you're having the best time, I can only see us having a good time too.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if you saw the ending, it leaves a little bit of a breadcrumb of what is about to come
It does.
or who.
That's what we want to hear. And okay, my last question that I ask all the authors that I chat to, if you were to be stuck in an elevator with one of your characters, any of your characters, who would you choose?
You know what? I already know. Okay, because he was one of my favorite characters to write, and it was Jed.
Oh, not who I was
I
expecting.
I have a really big soft spot for Jed. I think, oh no, I when I read, as much as like I love main characters, I love Sebastian. I have so much love for that man. But as a reader, I've always like gravitated towards the funny side character guy. Like, I don't know why. I just always have a soft spot for that person. And so writing Jed was like almost like my version of feeling that for my own characters and being like, I needed him. And yeah, I just think he has gone through a lot of things. They'll probably be, possibly revealed. Um, then I just feel so much for him. And I'm like, if I was stuck in an elevator, he'd be a bloody good time. He would like you wouldn't be bored, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny to see how people pick their characters. Some people go, oh, I want this person because I know that they're just gonna like rip the door off and get us out. And then
Yeah,
some people are like, oh, I want this one because we'd have a great chat. And I'm
yeah.
like, but you want to get out of the elevator, no?
I mean, to be fair, I feel like Jed would figure out how to get out of there.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I mean, he's not just, a pretty face, but
yeah, yeah. Sebastian would literally just be like, I'm getting the fuck out. Like he would like I'm not this is not happening. But Jed would be like, okay, I feel like he'd make light of the situation and it wouldn't be a stressful time. It'd be a great time. And
yeah.
I'd be like, no, no, we'll just stay in here for a little bit longer. It's fine.
I just need you to calm me down first before we figure out a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have high hopes for good things in Jed's future then, if he is someone that you like quite a bit.
I say that about a lot of characters though, and I'm like, Then I'm like, no, what am I doing? Like a certain character.
Yes,
I hated that. I hated doing that.
that was amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It was so much fun.